Hello and welcome to our first ever episode of the Prime Premier League Football Podcast. Listen, we are talking all things football. It is an absolute pleasure to bring you our first show. Myself, Big P, you all know me, and my co-founder slash co-host, Dr. Ketspire. How are you, mate? I'm absolutely buzzing that we are getting this show on the road.
Good evening. Welcome in, Ash, our special guest. And yeah, it's been a long time coming, but we have arrived. So I'm very much looking forward to tonight. So let's hope it's a good one.
Yeah, 100%. Ash, how are you, mate? Welcome to the first ever show of the Prime Premier League podcast.
Yeah, it's a privilege to be here with both of you as well. And yeah, I'm happy to have a conversation, see what we've got to talk about.
Yeah, let's get straight into it. So, the Euro 2024 final, Spain versus England, 2-1 defeat for the nation. Guys, what did you make of it? What did you make of his starting 11? Obviously, he made the one change, which he brought Shaw in for Trippier. What did you make of that? Ash, let's start with you on that one, because you've obviously been a Man United fan.
Genuinely, I was happy, of course, for him that he was starting. I didn't think he had the legs to sort of play more than 45 minutes, which obviously surprised me, to be fair. I was happy that the fact that it was the one change, not multiple changes, it got us to the final. So we stick with the tried and tested method. Um, yeah, it was like we're obviously going to speak further on the performance, but yeah, the tactically it was, we're going to come into that further, but yeah, I was happy with the lineup.
Doc, what did you make of his starting 11, mate?
Yeah, I think Ash touched on it quite well there. I mean, I wasn't expecting many, if any. I think the one that was open for debate would he go with Shaw or not? I mean, I totally understand why he went with Shaw, but I think I'm getting a little bit like sentimental in my old age because I did feel sorry for Trippier a little bit. I just felt like, you've played every single minute all the way to the final and then you miss out. I just felt like it was a little bit harsh on him, but I do feel like sometimes it's the needs of the team. So I do get it, but again, I won't go much further on it yet because obviously we've got a show to talk about where we can emphasize on that a little bit more in a minute. So yeah. What about yourself, Pete? What was your take? Was you surprised? Was you not surprised?
I was very surprised. I thought that we haven't gone with Shaw and we haven't played with him at any point during this tournament, like started. I know he's played minutes, but he hadn't started any. So I was very surprised that in a final, he just changed it like that. Again, I agree with you, Doc. I was very upset, but I felt a bit sorry for Trippier. It was like he was made a scapegoat for the rest of the games that he's played. But yeah, we'll get into it further. But yeah, I generally agree with you, Doc. Thought Trippier was made a scapegoat a little bit, but listen, it is what it is. Shaw started. We was probably calling for him to start if he was fit enough. But it is what it is. I suppose if we would have won, we'd be saying what a mastermind that he's created there. But it is what it is. Moving on to the game. What did you make of sort of the first 10 minutes of the game, Ash?
Well, 10 minutes for me, it was a very cagey affair. No team sort of wanted to push up on each other, and Spain, as they are, dominate the ball, which we knew was going to happen anyway. But it was all about sort of how we impose ourselves in them first 10 minutes, which obviously could contribute to the factor of us going further. But no, the first 10 minutes, both tried and tested and both trying to work each other out in the first 10 minutes. And like I say, Spain just passed around us in the first 10 minutes, really. And there was no shots, there was nothing. It was just one on one, and we're both trying to test out what other teams are doing.
Yeah. Doc's put up a comment. Ash, Tom's loving the name, mate. Southgate out. We'll touch on that towards the end of the show. But yeah, definitely a great name. Doc, what did you make of the first 10 minutes of the game, mate?
Yeah, again, I think Ash sort of summed it up quite well. I wasn't expecting anything else. I mean, I think the first 10 minutes, I think you can go a bit further than that and say the first half for me. I mean, I think finals are cagey. I think that, exactly like Ash said, it's a bit like it's a bit like two heavyweights in boxing, isn't it? You don't see them coming out throwing big bombs straight away because you're a bit cautious that you're going to get caught with one. So I think they both came in a little bit like sussing each other out a little bit, and I just felt like neither of them wanted to take a chance. Felt quite confident. I felt quite confident. I felt like things was panning out the way I anticipated them to pan out at that point, to be honest. So yeah, I mean, there was no surprises for me really.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I expected us to go for it from the off, and we just didn't do that. I think Kyle Walker did one overlap where we looked like we were going to score. But other than that, I just thought we give Spain a lot of the ball, a lot of time on the ball. Yeah, I wasn't impressed with the start. But moving on, obviously between 20 and let's go to half time. What did you make of the performance? You see the statistics that went up on the telly and that, and it was 70% possession to 30%. It was literally all Spain. What are you thinking at this point? Go on, Doc.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised. Maybe a little bit surprised with the amount of ball that they had, but it's exactly how I. Sorry, excuse me.
Ash? Yeah, I think Doc's touched on it. Like, finals are cagey. The first 45 minutes, we were just getting swamped in midfield. There was no way out. And like I say, Kane dropping deep into midfield at points really didn't help us for getting further up the pitch. And ultimately, Spain just took control of the midfield because of the amount of players that they committed to that midfield to stop us from stringing any passes together.
Yeah, go on, Doc. Carry on.
Yeah, apologies for that. Yeah, I mean, I always felt like Spain would have more of the ball. I always felt like it was part of the game plan. I didn't feel like that we were ever gonna go toe to toe with them and try to win the game and actually outplay them. I felt like the game plan was always going to be to frustrate them and to catch them where we need to. So the first half for me, I think Southgate probably sat there thinking, "Yeah, lovely. Like this is exactly what we wanted. Like this is great. Like, yes, they had a lot of possession. Yes, you could argue that maybe it should have been more of a 60-40 with regards to the game plan as opposed to the 70-30. But at this point, I think Southgate would have been quite content, quite happy. I didn't feel worried, as in, like there was no concern at half time. Like I obviously knew that the second half was going to change, but with regards to the plan for the first half, I feel like it went according to plan, so to speak, from the England camp. And again, I just want to emphasise that just for the England camp, I'm going to completely and utterly say my perspective a bit later on down the line. But with regards to Southgate's mindset and Southgate's perspective, I think that he would have been quite content with the first half, and I think he would have been happy with how it went. To be honest, I mean, I don't know if you agree with that or not, P. But
yeah, I think he would have been. That was 100% his game plans. Get into half time either winning or drawing. Now we've conceded first in the last 3-4 games that we would conceded first, and I think we looked defensively really, really strong in the first half. But going forward, we had nothing, and I thought our midfield was non-existent with Kobe Mainoo and Rice, and I feel like any one of them could have been dragged off at half time, if I'm honest. And it's no disrespect to Mainoo. I was really disappointed in Declan Rice. I thought it was awful. But it's no disrespect to Mainoo. He's a young lad. He's still learning his trade. You expect these sort of performances from him. But I felt like he could have been pulled off a bit earlier. Who you put in there, I don't know. I think I would have gone with a Trent just for his passing ability, but that's fouled in this competition. But generally, I think Southgate would have thought to himself, "We're 0-0 at half time, and now we push on." What did you make of the Harry Kane situation? Obviously, there's a lot of talk around him not being fit. In Gareth Southgate don't play to his style. We heard Ian Wright say last night that he'd scored 40 goals in the Bundesliga with 2 wingers either side of him, but England just don't play that way. What did you make of his sort of tournament and last night? Go on, Doc.
I think all of the above, really. I think that, let's be honest, right? People are talking about Harry Kane like he's a has-been, like he's the end of his career. And no disrespect, please don't. I know I don't want to touch a nerve with Ash, but Ronaldo to me looks like he wasn't offering anything and he's at the end of his career. And I don't think you can talk about Harry Kane in the same situation. Yes, it hasn't worked for whatever reason. And I generally believe that you will find out in the next week or so that he's had a knock throughout the whole competition. But I don't think it's this, people are saying he's finished and that's him, he should retire. Not for me. Not for me.
Ash, I see the Fran get a bit deep then when he said about Ronaldo being at the end of his career.
No, I say Doc's, he's got his own opinion, and that's fair enough. And to a certain degree,
I'm only talking internationally. I was going
to say, to a certain degree, anyway, I agree with you with that. But we'll speak about England. But no, I don't think this narrative that Kane's finished. Really, I think the way that Kane is playing is down to Southgate personally, because, like you say, at Bayern, he's got wingers that will run either side of him, and he'll drop deep, and he'll create, be the playmaker, score a goal. Like, Southgate doesn't play that way. He's never played that way, and that's the reality. We can't get the best out of Kane because the system doesn't suit Kane. It really doesn't. And asking him to drop him to midfield for this England team is not like asking him to drop midfield for Bayern Munich. It doesn't work.
Interesting.
So I do just want to interject because I want to ask P's opinion for a sec. Harry Kane has been there for the whole of Southgate's tender. And are we saying that it's never worked? Are we saying that, he's never worked there? Or are we saying that it hasn't worked in this competition? What? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, I was under the impression that we've been singing his praises in an England shirt all the way up to this competition. And he came in with high expectations of, correct me if I'm wrong, Big P, but I know you was very close. I don't know if you actually got paid out or not, but you backed him to be the top scorer in the competition, did you not?
Yeah, so I think it's just this tournament, mate. If I'm honest, I think Kane in an England shirt, you can't fault his numbers. You just can't fault anything to do with him. But I also agree with Tom in that comment you've just put up there. In the past, he's had Sterling Rashford running in behind him, and I felt like there was zero of that in this competition. And maybe that was down to him dropping too deep. Maybe that was Southgate's tactics. We don't know. He wasn't in the changing room. But for me, I generally believe that this is Kane's last competition for England. I generally think if Southgate goes and a new person comes in, I generally think that they will look now to build an England squad that doesn't have a Kane in it. And that's my honest opinion. I know you guys said that he's a has-been, he's this and that. Don't get me wrong, I think he'll still be in and around the England setup, but I don't think we'll see him as often as what we should. And that's just my opinion. Last night,
Sorry, go
on. Last night, he just looked like a geezer that is allergic to silverware, if I'm honest, mate. Comes up in a rash every time there's a trophy put in front of him. That's it's true though, isn't it? Like, how many finals has he got? Like, I just feel like the New England manager will have Kane in the squad. He'll be in and around the bench or in the squad, but I feel like Kane's England career is now coming towards the end. That's my honest opinion.
I just feel like it's scapegoat territory. I really do. I can't help it. It's like, we've just touched on the fact that he's had Sterling and Rashford running past him before, and that's got the best of him. So why is it Kane's fault now that these other players haven't pulled their weight, and why is it now the end of Kane? Like, surely the answer is get them running, and then Kane will be fine, no? Like, why are we sort of implying that it's Kane? And like I said, for me, I generally think that Southgate's asked him to play a different way, and I just don't think that it's is what you would ask of a Kane. You know, you don't teach old dogs new tricks. You don't teach your all-time goal scorer like shooting practice. You know, it's not like that. So you need to let Kane be free. And for me, that's what Southgate was at fault for. But again, I will come on to Southgate a little bit more in depth very, very soon. But yeah, I mean, what do you think, Ash?
Like I say, I don't think Kane's finished by any means. Like maybe what I said in terms of, let's say, with the players that have been there in previous tournaments, they obviously complement Kane more because let's be real, like we've played the wingers, we've played Saka there, but then we've not really had a winger off the left. So Kane's not really from the left. There's not been really nobody to sort of for Kane to look to. Like Foden's not going to run past a player. That's not Foden in itself. Saka will have a go, of course, but I just think the caliber of players that we've had in tournaments before, in terms of on merit, in terms of what they've got about them in these tournaments, like your Sterlings and Rashford when he does actually turn up, they actually bring out the best in Kane, and they're able to find Kane sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes being the right one there. Tom put interestingly, I saw someone say Palmer as a false nine, just so Foden, Bellingham, and Saka all get in the team. A bit of a left field suggestion. That brings me nicely onto my next question. Do you think that Southgate's scared to drop these big name players like your Fodens, your Bellinghams, your Sakas? And if so, why? Why is that? Because ultimately, yeah, they're all fantastic players. I'm not going to say they're world class because they're far from it. They're all fantastic players. But do you think Southgate's scared of the repercussions from either the nation, the FA, I don't know who from, but the repercussions that he may face and the question that he may get from media sources? Ash, I'll start with you on this question.
I think they maybe to a certain degree, yeah. It's like he'd come out in this tournament and spoke about people criticizing him already. So, like, I think there is that sort of niggling doubt in his mind to think, oh yeah, if I'm going to drop a Foden or if I'm going to drop Kane, what are they going to think? Like, as we said on the last one, I think he needs to focus on the players and what he wants, yeah, and like in terms of the personnel that he's got there, he needed to focus on who he wants, and he needed players like Foden shouldn't have been starting on the wing. They should have been playing in their predominant place, which was obviously in the 10. Like, and I just think he's just messed around and gone around in the merry-go-round too much in this tournament in terms of with the players not being in their positions, and that's obviously hurt us. Like, I wanted to see Gordon. I wanted to see, somebody who's able to help out off the left. A natural left winger, but we've not seen that in this tournament.
Yeah, Doc, what's your opinion on that?
Right. Well, probably see. Vessels have been bursting. I've been biting my tongue. I've been biting my tongue for weeks. I've been biting my tongue considerably. I've been biting my tongue for 24 hours. And now I'm just going to say it how it is. And that's it. Southgate's got it all wrong. Southgate's the one that's at fault. Southgate is the one that's got it all wrong. I don't care what anyone says. You look at that Spanish manager that's come through with the under-21s. He's got them players playing to a way where he knows exactly what he gets from them players. He puts them out. He puts them in the positions that he knows that they're capable of doing. And ultimately, that's why you've had Spain doing what they've done. Gareth Southgate has had 8 years. He's had 3 years since he got to a final to make sure that when we went into this competition, we knew the formation and the players knew where they were going to play. And at the end of the day, that is on Southgate. There's no one else to blame. It's Southgate's issue. And we should have been putting in the effort for the last 3 years, making sure that we knew the formation and the way that the team was going to play, and then it would have been only the case of bringing in the player in form. So, i.e., if Saka had fallen off, Palmer comes in and does the exact same thing. If Foden's going out on the left, Foden's going out on the left for the last 3 years. It's on Southgate. It's as simple as that. It's on Southgate, and Southgate. I'm sorry, but he's papering over the cracks. Them players, moments of magic, have papered over the cracks, and it's taken him to another final yet again. and it's not his management skill that's got us there. It's not. And even the tactical changes that I've tried to give him a pat on the back, hoping that it would give him a little bit of confidence, is not warranted, because even when he's made tactical changes, it's still been shots from outside the box, a moment of magic. It's not like the standard has improved and we've ripped teams apart and we've outplayed teams. Nothing has changed under Southgate. Absolutely nothing. Southgate is the problem. Thanks for coming. See you later. Don't let the door hit you on the arse on the way out.
So what you're saying is, Doc, he don't know his best 11.
You don't, yeah, like it's not even the best 11, is it? I think that any manager that's got the audacity to take 26 quality players with him and have the audacity to say during the competition in the same sentence of the criticism he's getting from home isn't justified, and then have the audacity to say we are missing Calvin Phillips. Have a word with yourself and give your head a wobble. He ain't been there for 2 years. You've had 2 years. What do you mean you ain't? You've had 2 years to sort it out, Gareth. What's wrong with you? He's having a bubble bath, Pete. It's ridiculous. He's a clown. Get him back to the circus and let him do his juggling. He's a clown. Sorry, but he's a clown.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's move on. Just after half time, Spain come out really quick. They score their first goal. I'll give you my opinion after I've heard yours. But what did you make of their first goal, Ash? I'm going to let Doc have a bit of a breather there. What did you make?
I think. Well, I've been watching it back, and I think I put a little bit of criticism on Shaw first of all, but then when I actually sort of closed it down and actually looked at it, I think, he's turned him, fair enough. It happens. It's within 30, 40 seconds of the half happening. But the positioning of Walker is a massive, massive no-no. Like, why is he so far in? Why is he so far away from the man? Why is he not tracking him? Like, people have been blaming Gahey for his positioning, but ultimately it whittles down to where Walker's situated. It's not the fault of Gahey. It generally is Walker, and like I say, they just switched off, and Walker was in no man's land.
I asked Doc to calm down, Ash, and you've mentioned Gahey, and that he's getting rid of us.
I've got a theory on this one.
Go on, mate.
I've got a theory on this one. So, as we all know, not once, not twice, because even the Netherlands done it in the semi-final. We've been really, really slow starts in the second half, right? True or false?
True.
Yeah, and I think that Gareth Southgate bores the players to tears. I think his team talk at half-time is so depressing that literally they're all half asleep, right? And they just listen to him waffle, and then if you add on top having Harry Kane chipping in as a captain with his really depressing tone and his dribbling skills in the changing room, I totally understand why the players are coming out half asleep. You know what I mean? And this is the problem, isn't it? You need someone in there. You should have took Jordan Henderson, because at least he would have been there with his cheerleading sticks, 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? Go England. And it would have woke them up a little bit. So there's your problem, boys. There's your problem. You bored them to sleep. They've come out. The fresh air's woken them up a little bit. Bosh, we're losing. Too late.
I don't know what else I can say to that. I agree with Ash. I thought Luke Shaw was... Harry lets Yean Lamau get the other side of him to receive that ball is beyond me. So I think you really have to look at Shaw. But again, you do have to look at Walker as well. Has Williams got in front of him to put the ball in the back of the net? But we get ourselves back into the game. We get ourselves back into the game. 60 minutes, he takes Kane off and brings Watkins on. And then all of a sudden, England start to close down from the front. We look like a better side. I'm going to say it. We look like a better side. And Watkins starts to close down from the front. Do you think that's what Kane should have been doing? And number two, we had that 10-minute spell where we were the better side and we scored within that 10-minute spell. What did you make of once he changed it, what did you make of England then? Because I thought we were a better side.
I think there's two sides to the coin. I think yes. I think the fact is professional footballers can see that Kane's not pulled his weight. So Watkins will automatically, being fresh legs, have that little bit more energy and have that little bit more of a burst. So yes, I do think that there is that aspect. But I also feel like you're 1-0 down in the final and it's the 60th minute. You know, you're making positive changes. Of course, you've got to go for it, you know? So it's going to pick up the tempo and it's going to, change, because if it doesn't, you're out. So it's desperation stage, isn't it? And again, the problem is time and time again, and I know I just obviously had a little bit of a joke, but there was a serious message to what I was saying. We've started poorly in the second half in many, many games, and it's like we like the challenge and we like to give the team a head start before we play. And again, we've gone behind yet again. We've let them play, and then we've woke up and we've only actually really gone attacking and tried to get into the game from the 60th minute on until the goal. So why? Why is this? It's like the old saying. Do you remember the old saying? Like, he scores when he wants. He scores when he wants. It's like England feel like, well, we can score when we want. We don't have to score early. We don't have to try. We'll stay in. They'll score, and that's fine. We'll score when we want. There's no emphasis there on keeping it tight and going and attack. No. Do you not agree?
I agree. Ash, what do you think?
Sorry, just recap me what you said, because I've just listened to Doc rant and I've totally forgot what he's talking about.
So Doc's done a Gareth Southgate to you, as he's made you fall asleep.
Yeah.
No, I was just literally saying about the fact that we've let them start well, we've let them score, and we haven't really even attempted to start playing until it suits us. Yet again, it's not like we wasn't trying to score in the first half. We wasn't trying to score in the second half when they scored. And it's only when we've brought on the substitutes where it's like, right, 60 minutes, we better have a go now, or otherwise we're going to go out.
No, I remember now. So, yeah, I wanted to say that I personally think Watkins should have been brought on 45 minutes straight into the second half. We seen the first half exactly what Kane was doing. The ball was being passed back to Simon, and he had too much time on the ball to pick out a mate, to pick out any pass he wanted to. He could have picked it out to his full back. He could have picked it out to his midfielder, and we were giving him too much opportunity, too much time. With a Watkins coming on 45 minutes, Watkins is going to stretch the play. He's going to close down the goalkeeper, which is going to limit the options of the goalkeeper, where he's going to have to kick it long, which we were doing a lot of, and we weren't finding a player, which if we were making them kick it long, it would give us time to pick the ball up and find a pass. I didn't understand why the players weren't brought on earlier, 60 minutes, after they'd scored, and sort of Doc said it was desperation. It was a hurry up, or bringing him on within 60 and trying to change the game. It's just leaving things too late. And ultimately, that's what cost us.
Yeah, I felt like he did a lot of work, Watkins, and I thought he was better closing down. I thought when Watkins started to close down, Spain started to look a bit vulnerable. Let's be honest, at half-time, when they come back out, every English fan in Germany and across the country was jumping up and down for joy. Rodri has just been bought off. Their best player has just been bought off. Little did we know that the player they bought on was probably just as good as Rodri. Yeah, so at that point at half-time, I'm thinking, they've bought off Rodri, this is now our game. This is now us. Bellingham now shine. Foden now shine. Although, I would have took Foden off at half-time and I would have put Watkins on and gone with Kane and Watkins. And the reason I say that is because we look at what Kane did for Spurs and the passes that he used to find Son with and the amount that Son scored in that one season. Now, for me, I think Watkins would have done the same. He would have run in behind the defence. Kane would have found him. Bish, bash, bosh. We're 3-0 up or 3-1 up and we're all having a party. Instead, we're all sitting here depressed, but that's a different story. And that's the substitution that I would have made. Foden off or Bell, either Foden or Ben. We could have taken one of them off, and put Kane in that 10 to find Watkins playing up front. But we've all been crying for Cole Palmer. He comes on. Bellingham, whether he meant to pass it the way he did or whether he fell over and stuck a leg out and it just landed in the path of Palmer, I don't know. But Palmer sweetly strikes home the equaliser at 1-1. What do you make of the game then? It's 1-1. Ash, take it away.
Well, as I previously stated, I think as soon as that goal went in, I thought, oh yeah, like, you know, this is an opportunity now. Like, you know, you saw when Watkins came on, how he changed the game, how he closed the goalkeeper down, which limited the goalkeeper's choices to pass out from the back. He didn't have the time to. So, like, as soon as that goal went in, I thought, you know, Southgate, you've now got a choice. You know, you either sit back and you go for extra time, which we know that is your thing, or you actually show a little bit of pride and think, let's go on the front foot. Let's go and try and get another goal while Spain are under the cosh, maybe, potentially. Let's go up the pitch and continue doing the same thing that you've just done to get the goal you've just scored. And ultimately sat behind the ball and waited for Spain to pick us off.
Yeah, Doc, going into their second goal, the substitutions that he were going to make was Gallagher and Trippier to come on the pitch, then Spain go and get their second. At that point, do you think we're 1-0 and he's trying to shut up shop? Or because to me, he's not trying to go for the game. He's bringing Gallagher and Trippier on. What's your thinking? Well, what's your thinking?
I think he'd already done it. I think he'd already done the same Southgate, the exact same thing he'd done 3 years ago when we took the lead with Italy. And it's the same thing that we've been crying out for. When we feel like we've got to change, he goes along and he completely and utterly shows his Southgate side again. I feel like Watkins was dropping in as deep as Kane was. And all these players were just dropping in as much as the next one. And we did go defensive and we did try to shut it out. And then he was about to make the changes to like completely and utterly go defensive with fresh legs. But again, like, why? The game was there. The momentum had changed. The momentum had changed in the game where it swung in our favour. And that's where we needed to go for the knockout. You know, and we didn't, and we let them back in, and I wasn't surprised. I was not surprised.
So the comment there that Cam said about getting Bowen on, I was screaming for this last night because I think Bowen offers us something different in the fact of Saka didn't take one Cucurella on once. Whether he got the opportunity, well, he got plenty of opportunities to do it. He didn't take him on once. Now, we're talking about probably the worst left-back in the Premier League last year, who's now just become the best left-back in the Euros. I felt like Bowen would have had a go at him.
And he's 4'3".
Oh.
Their left-back, he's tiny.
Cucurella, yeah.
Yeah, but I generally feel like that Bowen would have had a go at him, got to the byline and got his cross in. He showed it in the game that he come on against Slovenia, I think, or Slovakia. Where he got that crossing and Kane hit the bar. Do you think his substitutions again have cost us in that game last night, Ash?
On a flip of a coin, you can say yes. On a flip of a coin, you can say no, because the substitution he made in Palmer and Watkins were the correct substitutions, which, you know, they ultimately got us on the board and got us back in the game. But then, you know, you look at the other factors, the other substitutions he was gonna make. Ultimately, he was just looking to set up shop and look for extra time. So, like I say, on a flip of a coin, you can say yes, and on a flip of a coin, you can say no.
And let's not forget, this is a guy that's given Ivan Toney 2 minutes to go. They score, he brings Toney on. What's Toney going to do in 2 minutes? T, good evening, mate. Welcome to the podcast. Big P, very interesting comment regarding Kane and Watkins. Doc, what did you make of his substitutions and the lack of game time that he's given Toney last night?
Well, you know, it's like he's tried to stick and twist in the same like breath of fresh air. He's made the substitutions we want, but there's no point making the substitutions that we want if you're putting a striker on asking him to defend. So once we got the goal, we showed that we could score. We showed that we could create. We showed that we could go on the front foot. So once you get that goal, the emphasis is to keep them there and to keep going in the same way of what's worked. And this is the thing: Southgate never ever wants to kill a game off. He never ever wants to win a game. It's like he feels like my work here is done. Like extra time, we might be able to grab one, or penalties. Go and win the game. Literally, go and win the game. He done it against the Netherlands, but again, that to me was more luck than judgment. I don't think that was in his plan. I don't think he anticipated Watkins scoring the winner. I think it was a fluke incident. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he told him off after for shooting, and probably said to him, "You should have run it in the corner." Like it's negative.
What's Doc and Southgate got in common? Negative.
I've said it before, and I'll said it before, and I'll say it again. Like, I'm not going to be positive for the sake of being positive. Like, I'm not dressing it up. I gave him his props in the semi-final. I tried for literally 24 hours. I said nothing but nice things about the geezer, and then he wound me up. So now I'm back to square one again. Like, no.
Fair enough. Second goal, our defence is all over the place. They're all covering each other. Carl Walker's too far central, can't get out to Cucurella in time, and they knock in the second through, I can't say his name, but the striker they brought on for Morata. What do you make of that? Doc, let's start with you. Let's get your rant out of the way.
We got ripped apart, mate. We got ripped apart. It's plain and simple. There was only going to be one winner. There was only one team trying to win, and they showed their quality. And again, I think there's an emphasis on there's lessons to be learned that, we need to put an action in plan. We've got 4 years now for the next Euros. We've got 2 years for the next World Cup, but we need to get to a point where we can compete with the big boys. We've got to be able to retain the ball and have the same amount of ball time, the same amount of creativity. And until that changes, we will always come up short, boys. I'm sorry. Whenever we come up against a good team, it's always going to be the if, buts and maybes. But let's not dress this up. We played one decent team and they beat us.
Yeah, and that goes for Southgate's reign, doesn't it, really? Southgate's reign over however many years. I think there's only 3 or 4 teams that we've played that have actually been worth playing. Other than that, he's had a fairly easy run. But I just want to come away from the Spain-England thing, and I want to talk about the England squad now, or not the England squad, but certain players. And Doc, I'm going to give you your first props on this. Was you a bit gutted not to see a bit more of Eze and Walton to get 0 minutes? It's like, well, what was he there for? But was you a bit gutted that Eze didn't get more minutes and Walton didn't get some game time as well, looking at the performances that we had?
I never ever thought Walton would get minutes. I generally think Walton went there with one task in hand. If Rice got injured, Walton got played, and that's it. Walton went as the number 26. If there was any other competition where we only take 23, Walton would have gone. So I'm absolutely not surprised Walton didn't play. And to be honest, in this tournament, I wouldn't have wanted to see Walton in there, because I feel like he would have been outrun. The formation wouldn't have suited him, and it wouldn't have shown him in a good light, and people would have been criticising him, and it could have damaged him. So I'm more than happy for Walton to have not played. It didn't suit us. It didn't suit Walton, sorry. Eze for me is a game changer, and I think for Eze, I'm more frustrated for Eze the fact that you've not seen him in the 10 at all. And he reminds me of the last time we had an England international in our ranks, Andy Johnson, a prolific goal scorer that they decide to play on left wing. And yeah, I feel like they've spoiled Eze. And I don't want to say that I feel hard done by for Eze, because ultimately he got more minutes than Gordon. So, it's one of them ones where I don't want to feel like I'm being biased towards my club, but I do feel like there was a few people there that deserved minutes. Gordon being one. I feel like Eze could have potentially been given more minutes in the 10 role. And then Gordon could have gone out on the left because I don't feel like anyone performed in the 10. I don't feel like anyone had a good game in the 10 role in the whole competition in an England shirt. Not one. And with regards to what you said earlier about Watkins coming on, I think I agree with what you say completely with Watkins and Kane, but I also think that Watkins pulls out left quite a lot. So Watkins could have ultimately gone in there as the 10 because he can pull out left. He does it for Villa a lot, and he drills low crosses into the box and creates a lot of chances. So yeah, I do agree with that as well. But again, if you're bringing Watkins on in that position, then you're not going to be bringing Eze on as well, are you? So it's one of them ones.
Yeah. Guys, we're coming towards the end. I just want to talk a bit about Gareth Southgate. Ash, in all right, mate. Do you think he's got a new deal on the table, two-year deal on the table, been offered to him. The FA have come out and said that they're gonna give him as much time as he needs, so they're clearly not in a rush to appoint a new manager or get rid of him. Once he's reflected on the competition, he's come home. They come home today. He's going to go home or whatever he's going to do. Do you think he signs that 2-year deal, or do you think he walks away?
I mean, ultimately, he's going to do what's best for him, and like from our perspective, like we want him gone. Like we all know that it's just he does everything his way. Get us to the stage where we think, oh, we can believe, and then he just dashes our hopes by playing his negative football. Obviously, I personally think he's gonna sign the deal, but that's not obviously what I want. But I generally think he's going to take us to the next World Cup.
Doc,
I think he's a goner. I think that his interviews has said a lot. I think his ego is cashing checks that his bank balance can't. I feel like he's upset that the nation's turned on him, and I think it's registered with him that if he was a Premiership manager, you would be saying he's lost the dressing room. But Southgate hasn't lost the dressing room. Southgate has lost the nation, and I don't feel like he's got the support there anymore to do the job. And if he does do the job, and if he does sign that contract, I don't want to hear him whinging and moaning why people are criticising him, because it's on you, Gareth. So the right thing to do will be to give it to someone else. He's had 3 bites of the cherry now. He's the longest serving manager that we've ever had. He's been given every tool at his disposal. It's time for a change.
yeah, I agree, Doc. I think it's time for him to go. We were quite vocal about that before the tournament, and nothing's changed my mind during the tournament. But I've got a bit of a massive statement to say. I generally think that the next England manager is going to be female. And this goes on to who do people want to be a realistic replacement. I think Serena Wiegman, who is the women's coach or manager, will be the next England men's manager. Or Emma Hayes will be offered the job and she will leave America and come to the national men's side. That's just my opinion. I actually put a video out on our TikTok page about it.
Yeah, I see it, and I thought, good job he didn't run that by me, because that would have happened.
Who do you think will be the replacement then? Who do you think realistically? Who are we getting in?
Well, the funny thing is, yeah, I keep getting told by everyone, right, that we've got to have an Englishman in charge. So now we've got a foreign woman. Make that make sense?
Well, I never said an English manager, so.
But if you're going to go to a foreign woman, what about the other 500 foreign managers like that are waiting in the wings? Like, are you telling me you'd rather her than Jurgen Klopp?
I'm not saying that I would rather her over Jurgen Klopp, no. But what I'm saying is I've got this funny feeling that they could go down that route and say, well, it hasn't worked with any bloke in charge, so why is it going to work now? Let's try something different.
Well, I'm telling you now, and I'm going to put my neck on the line right now. If that happens, if she gets the job, I ain't watching England no more, and I'm supporting Wales.
Tom
No,
says,
and I'm
it's
deadly,
a nice quote, but I can't see it.
and I'm deadly serious. I'm deadly serious as well. Like I will lose so much respect for the FA, and I will just feel like they've made us a laughing stock. That it's just pathetic. Like she's done nothing in the game to warrant the fact that she can manage a men's side at the highest level. So it's a mockery. Like it's just ridiculous. How would Lee Carsley feel sitting in the under-21s thinking, well, Southgate got the nod, I'm next, and then sees that, like, come on, mate. I hope you're on the wind up.
No, I'm
That's what
generally
I'm
being
saying.
serious. I'm not on the one. I'm generally being serious. Tom, Doc, Craig Bellamy or Serena Wagman, mate? Doc?
Sorry,
Is Craig Bellamy or Serena Wagman?
I'll take Bellamy all day, every day.
Wow, as it is then, Tom. And T says, big statement. So, guys, quick summary. Who's a realistic manager for England then if Southgate goes? Doc?
For me, like I said, I want a world-class manager. So I realistically want a conversation with Klopp if he's available. Let's see if he's available. Let's see if he's tempted. Let's see if he's prepared to entertain it. If Klopp's a no-go, I would want to speak to Pep. Bearing in mind, I think we all know that in a year's time he's going to be stranded. And if it's the case of giving it to Lee Carsley for a year and Pep being like an advisory to Carsley for a year, setting up the president for him to take over, I'm all for that. But yeah, I want a world-class manager. I'd even take a Poch right now. I really would. I'd take a Poch. But I want a world-class manager in an ideal world. So I want someone that knows what they're doing and is tactically switched on to make changes.
Ash?
If you're going down the FA route, for me, it's probably going to be Potter. But Doc took the words out of my mouth. I generally think Pep would be the best choice, just because of the situation. He's obviously under with a year left on his contract. He could be, like I say, like Doc said, an advisory to the under-21 manager for the time being, and then obviously stick himself in that role then when the time comes when he's finished with club football, and if he can move on to international football, then perfect.
I think Klopp's a no-go. He's just become the ambassador for Liverpool Football Club, so I can't see him becoming any time soon.
That means he still wants to stay around England.
Yeah, he's still living in Liverpool. He's made that perfectly clear that he's still living in Liverpool, but it is a chance. But I just feel like he's got a new job within Liverpool Football Club, and I don't think he'll take it. But Pep for me is the one.
You've strengthened my case as far as I'm concerned. If he's still staying in Liverpool and he's got an advisory role, an ambassador role at Liverpool, which isn't a full-time job, and he's already said that he wants to go back into management, but he hasn't got the energy to do full-time. International football's right up his street. So there you go, England job. Get him on the phone. Get it sorted.
My last question: have this England squad let the country down? Doc, yes or no?
No, the England squad's not let the country down. The manager's let the country down.
Ash?
No, Southgate's got blood in his hands. These players haven't let him down. He's let the players down and the country, ultimately.
Yeah, I think they've let the country down, if I'm honest. I'll be honest with you. Their performances were shocking. The whole lot of them, every single one of them, including the manager, let their country down. But guys, that brings us to the end of the show. Our first ever show on the Prime Premier League podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure getting the thoughts of Ash and my co-host and co-founder Doc. How did you think it went, mate? And give out your promotions.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I mean, it's one of them ones, isn't it? It's not an ideal scenario talking about England's poor performances as a first podcast for us, but I suppose we had more talking points with the negative stuff than if we tried to talk positive, because it would have been about a 3-minute podcast. So it is what it is. But obviously we're looking forward to, as you can tell by the name, Prime Premier League podcast. We will be on every week. We will be covering the Premier League predominantly, and we switch our attentions to that. yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, in an ideal world, you'll have Arteta taking the City job, Southgate taking the Arsenal job because he likes to come second, and everyone's a winner, baby.
Guys, if you like listening to Doc Rant, please give us a subscribe and follow. And we will be back next week talking.
Thanks for coming on, Ash. Appreciate it, buddy.
All
No
things
problem.
Premier
Thanks
League.
for having me on board.
Thank you, Ash. Absolute pleasure. And it's been a blast. We look forward to seeing you next week, guys. Same time, same place. Have a good evening. Bosh.